Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. And we love coming on. And when you can come on live, of course, it's always fun. We appreciate those who can do that. We understand not everybody can. They watch, they listen to the podcast at their convenience. And we understand there are thousands of those folks. And but we like to say hello to our Facebook friends that come on with us in the morning. Part of our family. We appreciate it. Haven't seen any names yet. And yet the notifications, who's going to be in first. I haven't seen anything. Don't tell me we're going to get a day where I can't see anything. Okay. If you can hear me and see me, give me an emoji at least. Let's see if, yeah, you know what? I'm not seeing any comments this morning. Oh, why? I don't know. I have no idea. Okay. Well, let me see. I don't think I'll see it on this either because I'm connected here. Let me go on Facebook to see for a second here. Yep, I can't see your comments, guys. Sorry about that. Oh, hold on a minute. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to do my iPad. Let's see if I can. No. Can't see, guys. I can see me on my iPad here, but I cannot see your names, and don't ask me why. Okay, so hello, you know who you are, and thanks for coming on. We appreciate it, and I don't know. I might have to bring in another device again, what I did. Who knows what happens on Facebook, but okay, so let's get going. I got a couple of studies I want to talk about this morning. Let me see here. Okay. This is on children suffering big time. Just the, it's so different than it used to be. And 1 out of 20 kids are autistic. One in 6 have a developmental disability. 1 in 9 ADHD. Oh, you know what? I got another device. There's my wife coming in. Let me say hello. Okay. I don't know which way they came in, but I got Anna. I got Meta, I got Marilyn, I got Lisa Marie, Dave, Mary, Janice, Sandra, Nativity, Joanne, Rhoda, Dave, Veronica, Carol. Okay, it took another device for this to happen. Hi, Cecilia, Patricia. So I can say hello to a few of you. Hi, Sandy and Rose, how is you? Okay, isn't that fun? Roxanne from Edmonton, how are you doing? Thanks for coming on and saying hello, guys. So, okay. Rosalinda. Sharon. Yeah, a lot of people are saying their scroll isn't working. I don't know. Guys, unfortunately, you're talking to a senior, and I'm always scared to touch something because I often make it worse. And Sylvette and Cheryl, Anna, Micheline in Sturgeon Falls. Good. I'm glad you guys could come on. I'm going to leave that right over here. And I'm going to get out of this one so that I can look at some studies on my iPad. Okay, let me just get to that. And here we go. Okay, so let me give you these stats for kids again, okay? And hi, Vince and Shirley. 1 in 20 kids autistic. We talked a lot about that over the years. 1 in 6 developmental disability. 1 in 9 ADHD. 1 in 5 anxiety or depression. These are kids. 1 in 4 food allergy. 40% have a chronic health condition. These are kids, guys. And they don't even talk why in this study, observational. They don't give you the why, but we got a huge problem with kids. Isn't that crazy? Our health, it's terrible. And kids are the canaries in the coal mine, suffering. And it's sad. I'll give you a couple of reasons. You know, I'm a why guy. Why is this happening? Why is it so frequent? I was asked the other day, again, coming back to the University of Tennessee, a young lady said, well, autism, it was just because it was never diagnosed before. Well, look, I was very respectful in answering this because perhaps, but I told this young lady who asked me the question on autism and, made a comment that, it's always been around. It was just never diagnosed. I said, well, that's possible. I just told her about my experience. When I was in school in the 1970s, I graduated in 1974. I never even heard of autism. I never even heard the word. And if you look up in any of the medical books I had, you couldn't find it. No, I'm sure kids had developmental challenges and maybe they misdiagnosed it, but no. I mean, the point I was making is, come on, look at how frequent it is. If anything, it was it was a rare disorder. The first time I heard of it was I think it was the year 1979, and one of my colleagues, he had 2 sons that were autistic, and he's explaining to me, I didn't even know what he was talking about. And today we have an epidemic. Why? The question is, why? And I have, and I'm reading this article on the prevalence of just sickness and disorders in kids. Why? Well, here's one. We live in a toxic soup. We can run, but we can't hide. You know that, I know that. We just are surrounded by it. It's in the water, it's in the soil, it's in the air, it's in our food, it's everywhere on the planet. Okay? The world, they have a narrative, it's called climate. I am much more interested in the environment. The environment. The toxic soup in which we live. I'm not so concerned. I mean it, guys, the climate. I think that anyway, I don't want to get into politics, but that's not, I believe in environment because you just read about it. The microplastics, the herbicides and pesticides everywhere. And they accumulate, and these kids happen to be the canaries in the coal mine. So what have we done? Well, we've changed the environment. What have we done? We changed the food. Food is different. Not only has it a lot of these pesticides and herbicides are in it. It's we change the way we eat. And we created things. We changed flour. The flour has changed. We're overfed and undernourished. The oil has changed. We went from butter and ghee and lard to oil that should be in our cars, that was designed for automobiles, our machinery. The so-called healthy oils. They're everywhere. They're in all the foods. Because man always thinks, they always come to this, man thinks they're smarter than God. So they change nature. And they changed the oil. They changed, to a high inflammatory omega-6, linoleic oils. And they changed the flour. Bread has become a fast food because it's devoid. The way they used to make flour and bread, they completely changed that, and now it's a fast food. And the pasta. And all these things have been changed because different flours, different sugar. How many times on this program have we talked about how the world changed the sugar? It went from, cane sugar to high fructose corn syrup. And that changed. That is so much more toxic to the body, the liver. And we're surrounded by this. Kids are, again, the canaries in the coal mine. And it's sad. So you have the change in the environment. There's heavy metals, guys, everywhere. Mercury, lead, cadmium. It's often in the foods that we eat. You can run, but you can't hide. And then we changed the food. We changed the sugar, the oil, and the flour. No wonder. And then 3, we changed our microbiome. Because of and pesticides have an effect on the microbiome. They kill the friendly bacteria. But I believe, and I think I'm right about this, one of the greatest curses, even though it's been a blessing, is the double-edged sword of antibiotics. I always would teach this to my parents. Antibiotics, wonderful, save lives, are needed, 100%, the great discovery, but, the huge but, the overuse of antibiotics, they wipe out the friendly, they carpet bomb. Why do you think we see so many kids that have got all these disorders and the use of antibiotics? Big time. Food changed. The environment changed. Medication changed. And we got kids, 1 out of 20 autistic kids. I mean, think guys, okay? People argue about healthcare system. I don't care where you are. I don't care where you're living. All the tea in China, all the money in the world. They'll never fix what's going on in our society. Imagine kids. They start out in life and they got these diseases. 40% have a chronic health condition. 40%. I read this article almost weeping, thinking of the poor kids. The canaries in the coal mine, they're getting it. What did I say the other day? 40% of young people are on SSRIs. Man, not good. Not good. Okay? Anyway, I wanted to bring it out. I wanted to give you the why of it, in my opinion. Okay? The why of it. These kids, we experiment with oil, with the sugar, and we think we're smart, and guess who pays the price? Well, we're paying the price too, obviously. Okay? We're paying the price too, obviously. Okay. Now, let me give you another one. Okay? This was a huge observational study, and the statistics of it are scary. Okay. Here's another one, but this is... Since 1980, diabetes is up 300%. Now, have you heard my story? I come from a diabetic family. In the 1950s, 1%. Okay? 1% of the population was diabetic. So diabetes has been around a long time, guys. It just wasn't, it's the prevalence of it. It was very rare. But I was in that rare category because my grandfather, diabetes, my father, diabetes, a lot of diabetes coming out my ears in terms of genetics, okay? The good news, and I've talked to you about this a million times, this shaped my life, guys, okay? This shaped my life. It got me really going when my dad was diagnosed with diabetes in 1968. I was 16 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. My dad hadn't been feeling good. I was worried about that. As much as a 16-year-old worries about things like that. But I was, because my dad, my biggest fear in my life at that time was my dad dying. I mean, I love my dad. I love my mom, but I love my dad. And my dad was just like bigger than life to me, okay? And just because he was wise and he had a way of making you feel very special as kids, okay? And, we had a large family, but my dad, like all of my siblings, they were in love with my father. Sometimes clashes with mom. Okay. And I got to appreciate my mom. And I should have appreciated her more when I was young. But as I got older, I really appreciated my mom. How the heck did she manage 11 kids? But my dad was a hero type of thing in our family. Okay. And my sisters, their papa, they loved him. Okay? And I love my dad. Okay? 16, he comes home. I remember we sat at the kitchen table and he said, listen, I'm a diabetic. Okay? Okay. What does that mean? Okay? Didn't understand it. I knew my grandfather had it, but I didn't know a thing about diabetes. Okay? But I'll tell you, I observed, I watched. My dad changed his life overnight. And I was beside him. Dad, why are you doing that? Why are you running? Why are you running at first indoors? He would go, he'd run up and down in the living room. for, I don't know how long he did it, 15 minutes, I think, the first day. Maybe it wasn't that long. And I said, Dad, have you flipped your lid? No, he says, I'm a diabetic. I'm going to get in shape. This is 1968, guys. There was no one jogging that I knew of in 1968. My dad was the first one. On the spot, then my mother kicked him out of the house. You're going to ruin my carpet. What are you doing? And my dad went in the yard. We had a fairly big yard, and he ran around the yard. And then he went out on the street. And when he went out on the street, I told him one morning, this is probably a few months later, I said, Dad, you wake me up. I'll go running with you. Because I was listening to him. And then he's the one that taught me, because I watched him. He changed his diet big time. This is 1968, guys. He completely changed his diet. No more sugar. And he said to me one day, because I saw him drinking diet, I didn't even know diet soda? 1968? I said, Dad, what are you drinking? Let me taste it. Ah! Tab. It tasted like urine, in my opinion. But my dad says, son, it's sugar diabetes. What? Well, it's sugar. What? Okay. What do you mean, Dad? Well, I can't eat sugar. I'm a diabetic. It's sugar diabetes. And my dad changed his life. And I watched him. And I did a lot of the stuff he did. I stopped drinking soda. I never had another chocolate bar. I just did it. He did it. I went running. I started jogging. Nobody knew what I was doing. I'd go with my dad in the morning before school. I learned to exercise. It's such a habit now that I don't even think about it, really. I just do it. I really have to cut because I have my dad's genetics. And I did, nah, I can't do it. I can't eat like that. Okay? I can't live on carbohydrates. So I've been preaching this, guys, since the 70s. Preaching it to my patients. It's sugar diabetes. It's up 300% since the 1980s. Is there any coincidence, guys, that they changed the sugar in 1980 to high fructose corn syrup? Do you think there's any coincidence with the 300% increase in diabetes? And you guys know this because I give you this statistic all the time. 93% of the population, 93%. So go in a room and 93% of the population. I said this at the conference the other day. I said, if I could take your blood work, everybody sitting in this room here today, I didn't know anyone except Dr. McEwen. I said, if I could do your blood work, the proper way to do blood work, I would tell you right now that in this room, 93%, and I don't think it'd be less, it might be more, have what we call metabolic syndrome. Because we don't test for it. So people don't know. You see, medicine is diabetes management. It's all about blood sugar and managing blood sugar. But what they don't, you got to go, guys, okay? Let me bring you under the hood here for a second, okay? Open up the hood. I don't know anything about a car, but I sure know your body and my body, okay? So let's go, open up the hood, and let's look. 300% increase in diabetes since 1980. 300%. Guys, this is a national crisis. And I know they're talking about the war in Iran and this thing and the other thing. I know they call them crisis, but there's no crisis in the world that's worse than the curse of metabolic syndrome, diabetes. But let me explain. We're going to go under the hood of this here for a few minutes, okay? Because blood sugar, guys, okay, they want to manage that. But you have to understand that blood sugar is when that goes up and stays up, that's the last thing that happens in your body. Not the first thing that happens, it's the last thing that happens in your body. Because when you go under the hood to look at diabetes, it starts with a hormone called insulin. And you guys know this, but it's so good to repeat it, has everything to do with food, not genetics. Yes, genetics makes one more sense. But guys, think about this for a minute. 93% of the population have metabolic syndrome. It's not all genetics for diabetes. When you understand metabolic syndrome, you understand that every chronic disease, listen, Linda, listen, Larry, comes primarily from metabolic syndrome. Every chronic disease, heart, worse than ever. Heart and stroke, worse than ever. Still the number one killer in our society today. Cancer. I hate to say it, guys. It's worse than ever. I did this on Saturday. University of Tennessee. I got their attention. I said, it was more women, a lot more women than men. I said, let me count. So right at the front row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There were 7 women. I said, one of you, for sure, is going to have breast cancer in their lifetime. When I graduated in the 1970s, it was 1 out of 20 women in North America. It's 1 out of 7. Some say now it's down to 1 out of 6. Going to get breast cancer. Why? Holy smokes. They come by every year to raise money for breast cancer awareness and breast cancer research. And I said, you guys haven't even made it. I always give them, the poor people, they're just collecting money. But I have to give them a little lesson. One, on where the money goes. I said, and I would ask them the question, whether at the door, at the office, or what, why? With all the money you raise every year, why is breast cancer worse than ever? They look at me like I got 2 heads on. Well, I said, why? Okay? So guys, under the hood of diabetes is metabolic syndrome. Diabetes is the last thing to happen, not the first. By the time someone becomes a diabetic, and I'm not talking about type 1, which is autoimmune, but hold on, I'll get to that. What happens? We're eating the wrong foods. We have the food pyramid upside down. This has to do with energy. We're carboholics. Your body wasn't designed for that. Your body wasn't designed. 1950, 25 pounds of sugar a year. 1970s, my 4 kids were born in the 70s. 50 pounds of sugar a year. Here we are today. A dump truck load, 200 pounds, close to it. Because it's all in the food. They hide it in everything. And one of the things is that high fructose corn syrup. But back under the hood. Let's get under the hood. We're looking. Okay, so metabolic syndrome. What do you mean, doc? Well, listen to here's how it starts. We eat way too many carbs. Our body wasn't designed for that. Breads, pastas, rice, cereal, sugar, sweets, drinking colas and juice and milk, even store-bought milk. It's sugar added, like drinking orange juice, Tropicana, and then they drink all these other drinks, and they go to Starbucks and they get and drink this and that, and the worst thing you can do is drink sugar. You weren't meant to drink sugar. You can have a fruit, but don't drink it. Your body wasn't designed for that splurge of sugar. So here's what happens, okay? So every time you have a carb, it breaks down fast into glucose, plus glucose. Add the glucose because it's all over the place. It's in everything. You can't buy anything almost that they haven't added sugar to. So guess what happens? Your pancreas has no choice. You're having sugar. Insulin cannot allow sugar to stay in your bloodstream. Sugar's toxic. Oh, doc, we need moderation. We need moderation. No. Because sugar is toxic. So what happens? Insulin comes. You guys know the rest of the story. Hey, you can't park here anymore. But if you continue to eat, okay? You don't know it. When I say you, I mean the world out there. They don't know it. They've been told to eat grains and eat bread and eat their noodles and eat their pasta and eat the rice and cut back on the meat because that'll kill you and this kind of thing, right? And so what happens? Your cells become resistant to insulin. They can't stand it. Well, insulin says, look, you don't want me to come to your door, cells, but I can't allow sugar to stay in the bloodstream. I must park it. And I know you don't like me, but too bad. So sad. I gotta come. And then eventually, the last thing that happens is now your cells go, nah, I'm not responding to you anymore. Now sugar stays in your bloodstream and you have diabetes. But that's the last thing to happen. Not the first. Takes years. But it's happening faster than ever before, and 93% of the population, guys, have that trouble. And medicine, here's what they do. Take your blood sugar. Oh, it's high. Oh, you're diabetic. Or they often say. We better manage that. Here's metformin. And your insulin's not working anymore. So here's some insulin. But they don't change the diet. They don't change the problem. They don't change it. Moderation. And we'll manage your blood sugar. But anyway, I'm going to get into it because, look, I get crazy, guys, because I watch the world and how they respond to stuff, and they don't realize that metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance is at the root of diabetes, but it's also at the root of heart disease. It's at the root of cancer. It's at the root of Alzheimer's, type 3 diabetes. It's at the root of autoimmune with the combination of leaky gut. Now, my audience knows this, but the world doesn't know it. Big food, big pharma. Big food, big pharma. Big pharma, big food. And guys, they do wonderful things, but don't hold your breath. There's too much money to be had in management and in food called moderation. There's too much money in it. And they buy politicians. And we want to spend more and more and more and more and more and more and more money. Throw it at the system for disease care, not prevention. That's where we're at, guys. That's why we have so much sickness, and even in kids. Yep. Okay. I got to stop ranting. But I read an article like this, diabetes up 300% since 1980, and they never even talk about the why. They just said, okay, this is where it is. And they don't go under the hood, and they don't look at why. But we know why. We know why. Okay. Okay. Tomorrow is what? Q&A. Okay, always fun. Send your questions in, info@martinclinic.com. Guys, we love your questions. Send your questions in, okay? I want to answer every one of them. Okay, we love you guys, and we will talk to you next time.